Welcome to Cosmic Disclosure. I'm your host, George Norrie, and I'm here with Emery Smith. Time travel technologies. Do they exist? And if so, how are they being used? Emery, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, George.
Time travel technologies. Exactly what is it and what's involved with it?
Well, what they're trying to do and replicate is portal technology that they have discovered from an earthly origin a very, very long time ago. And there is a connection between this type of traveling that also affects time and space. So they are trying to actually replicate that and make that into electronics and make a synthetic version of this. And they have actually done this. They have not perfected it yet.
Now, when you say they, who are we talking about?
We're talking about the compartmentalized projects that the security is only run by the military, but the project itself could be owned by, major corporations that are clandestine that get funded by the governments around the world to make other technologies for them, whether it be for, wartime, peacetime, or pharmaceutical. So these monies that are made from these smaller projects that they're doing funds their secret projects such as time travel and things like this.
So specifically, Emery, how does time travel work? Because we hear all kinds of things and all kinds of possibilities.
Well, the first thing you need is a lot of energy, number one. A lot of the side effects of these zero-point energy over unity devices create this type of rip in time and space. And it has to do with enfolding space on itself, actually, and opening up the space within time, right here in front of you. Because that right there is how our extraterrestrials actually travel through the universe and interdimensionally. They're creating their own field of energy, number one, which is their own gravitational field that they sit in. That's why they can do these billion-mile-an-hour right-hand turns and nothing happens to them, because they're in their own field. And by putting energy and focusing it in front of these craft, they can actually open up interdimensionally a space rift in time and go through it. And that's why they sometimes just, poof, disappear in space.
Do they have like a dial on any apparatus and they could click it to 3015 and poof, you'll show up there?
Well, it's kind of like that, but it's called consciousness-assisted technology, and it's all done with their consciousness. The craft also are integrated with the beings. Some of them are actually grown, these craft, and they are matched to the DNA of the pilot. So all the pilot has to do is think of that dial turning to 350 whatever degrees, and poof, they're gone.
There they are.
Yep.
The more and more I watch you on Cosmic Disclosure, I hear new information that just boggles my mind. In this particular case, how do they use this kind of technology?
Well, what they're doing is, like I said, time is a very sensitive subject with the physicists and the scientists around the world that are not part of the clandestine projects, because it's a hard thing to grasp, because time really doesn't exist. And what's going on is there's multiple levels of time right now and multiple different types of realities and dimensions. So there is a dimension right now, just within a different frequency right now, where you are here and I'm here, and it's just a little bit different. Maybe these coffee cups are not here, or the cameras, or it might be some different people, because there's many different levels. The hardest thing to explain is that time is irrelevant because you are already here everywhere, all the time, which means, I know it sounds confusing.
But don't go back and see your grandfather, right?
Right, and that's a big question I get. Like, what if you go back in time and you did something? Well, you just created another time reality. So that's another space of time. But you're still where you're at right now. And if you think you can go back and remove the coffee mug, and then all of a sudden, it's not there, it doesn't work that way at all.
I mean, if you wanted to go back into time and do away with Hitler and prevent World War II and the Holocaust and all that horror that he created, what would happen if you went back into time, took care of him, got rid of him, and what would the consequences be?
Consequences would not affect you because in this reality that never happened.
Interesting. But would there be a reality somewhere
there is,
where it did happen?
Correct.
And what would happen there?
Well, it's what's happening right now. That's the the paradigm here is trying to put all that together, saying, okay, there are multiple dimensional realities and there's multiple different types of time zones that we are all part of. We're interdimensional, multiple dimension beings. And that's where frequency comes in with DNA and genetics and how, we affect, other worlds and other places in the universe, where the light we see from the stars today, that star might already be out. But because of this distance and time continuum, we don't, really think about that and realize that.
What if there are other universes, the multiverse exists?
Oh, right.
Would different time things occur in those different universes?
Right, exactly. I get that question a lot too. So the different universes have, another George and another Emery there. And at this time, you have to realize that it's a whole nother timeline that we're part of, but we're not because we're here. That's the best way I could put it.
These programs, I'll call them the time programs.
Sure.
Were you involved with them specifically? And if so, what did you do?
Well, there was a program I was involved with where they were using a special type of Teslatron unit where we would take a watch in with us in this small hexagon room and spend, supposedly 55 minutes in there. And I remember the first time after working with this project for many years to even become one of the people to go into it, that you have two watches and you put one in your locker room, you lock it up, you take the other one with you into this device. And the first time, after waiting 2 years to get into it, I was so thankful that I was finally able to get the proper security clearance and to get into this device. And going into this device as they ramp it up, I remember hearing, after just 15 minutes, this knock at the door saying, okay, Smith, it's, you need to come out now, we're done. Because I heard the system ramp up.
Probably were in there 9 years and didn't know it, right?
Well, exactly, I was in there for a whole hour. And I had no idea.
What did it feel like?
When I came out, I was so upset. I was so distraught saying, man, what happened? Did the system have a malfunction? And then all the scientists are looking at each other, and they're all like over 100 years of age, and they're laughing. And they said, oh, didn't you check your watch in your locker? And I said, no. So I missed a good 30, 45 minutes.
And didn't even know it.
And I did not know it because the 15 minutes I was in there, really, I felt, it was an amazing experience. You can see the universe, you could see space, you could, it actually detoxes you and teletransports toxins out of your body. Sometimes people lose up to 15 pounds in these trips that they go in there.
In one sitting?
In one sitting, in 55 minutes. And I always asked, well, where does that go? Because I still have the same hydration when they did the blood test, and I'm not dehydrated, but yet all the horrible negative ionic bacteria, viruses, and metals in my body were taken out. So people that are really toxic that go in there, really a lot of the stuff
come back healthy.
Right, they come back very healthy. It's used to treat cancers for the elites of the world. Even our presidents.
What's the machine look like, Emery?
It's a hexagon room, and inside the hexagon room is a glass wall. The hexagon room is only about 8 feet in diameter, so you know.
So it
can only fit a small massage table that's in there. And 3 feet beyond the massage table is a 3-inch glass or plexiglass wall, and behind that is this giant Teslatron unit. And it amps up this amazing electromagnetic frequency where it rips time and space apart. A lot of side effects of zero-point energy devices do this, and a lot of scientists that have, including Tesla, have witnessed this and wrote this down, that there's some field, this sphere that forms, which has happened to me in my laboratories, where the time is getting distorted for a moment.
Sure.
But with this device, they really perfected it pretty well. Where we always were trying to find out, wow, there must be some dimension somewhere where someone's sitting there, maybe an extraterrestrial, and a big wad of fat comes down and hits them in the face, or some toxins, Someone just jumps a bucket of something. So it's not perfected yet because they're still trying to find out, well, where does that go? Where did the tumor go? Where did the cancer go, the cells? Where did these viruses go?
So they're just gone.
They're just gone.
How does it work in terms of curing people?
They're still trying to figure it out, and the best way I could describe it is it somehow attracts the negative ionic components of viruses and tumors and also metals that are not beneficial for the body. It latches onto them somehow through this energy field that's in there, and it teletransports those things out somewhere.
It sounds like it also changes the bad cells, does it?
I don't think it changes the bad cells. I'm pretty sure it removes the bad cells, but it upregulates the frequency of the DNA. It also helps fight infections and things like this. Usually, once you get out of one of these devices, for me, I could not sleep for 3 days and be completely fine. You have a great urge to work out. I think I ran the furthest after having a treatment on one of these devices because I used to jog a lot and work out a lot. And that was very noticeable. And they said this would happen. They said you will have an immense amount of energy and you will have an immense amount of cognitive function. And, you know, meditation was just amazing. You can immediately just, you know, close your eyes and be anywhere you want. If you were a good meditator and you knew how to do these, you know, just regular meditation steps. So it has amazing functionality to the frequency of the DNA of the cell and the nucleolus of the cell, and also upregulating those energies, because it's all about keeping your body at the right voltage. And I think by removing the contaminants out of the body, which affects your voltage, it allows you to heal yourself.
Interesting.
In our studies, just with this one project, and there's many projects we'll talk about, but with this specific project, you're really going in there to get treated for something, for an ailment.
Okay.
But what the side effect is time. It's
Right.
losing time.
You lose time, but you don't age.
Right.
Right?
Right. And that's why all these scientists in this underground facility in New York, actually, were so young and vibrant and over 100 years of age. And I remember, you know, working on some things for them just as a technician, listening to their conversations, and they were like talking like they knew Tesla. And they had a lot
They probably did.
I know. It was like electrifying to know, wow, like, I wish I really knew exactly how old they were. And this is a civilian-owned device that was made from naval scientists that retired early.
And it must be so perfected now, I would guess, right?
Well, I think they're trying to do something. I tried to contact them a few years ago to see if we could maybe get this technology out to the public. And one of the head scientists became ill, and I had lost contact, you know, with that group. But we're still trying to figure it out. I think it's going to resurface soon, because the medical benefits of this time-traveling device is unprecedented. You know, we were able to cure HIV in 30 days, herpes, and
By being in the device.
just by being in the device 3 times a week.
Does it cure everything?
Well, I don't know about everything. Just the documentation I've seen and heard was, you know, with cancers and herpes and HIV, STDs, because a lot of the...
Well, why do they suppress all that stuff, Emery? Why don't they bring
Well, the
it to
FDA
the
will
public?
definitely not approve that device, no matter how much documentation they have.
Why?
Well, you're going up against Big Pharma, the big money maker. You know, they
Sure.
need you to take these pills.
So they don't, you're saying they don't want the cures?
They do not want the cures, and I can, you know, attest to that, being the inventor of the first tabletop stem cell concentrator and submitting many documents to the FDA of, you know, helping paralyzed patients and things like this. And, you know, you could send in 1,000 studies, you know, of a new technology that many scientists have tried to do
Of course.
here in the United States.
And nothing happens.
And nothing happens. They say, oh, you need more data. So they just keep leading you on till you get so tired and you run out of money, because most scientists and smaller corporations don't have that kind of capital to keep testing and testing and testing.
Emery, we've talked about these scientists that you would see through this time device, and you said they were 100 years old. Where'd they come from, and why were they so old?
Well, it's not that when I was inside the device, they're the ones who invented this device.
Okay.
And they were definitely born on Earth. They were all ex-military scientists that retired.
They have worked with Tesla.
They obviously had worked with Tesla, the way I can hear them talking behind the scenes and joking around. They were all in excellent shape. They were all over 100 years of age. They were still aging. They didn't get that secret, you know, figured out yet. But the fact that, you know, these people in these compartmentalized projects who have been there forever, by the way, these are civilian-owned compartmentalized projects, but they are ran by ex-military scientists.
Emery, how advanced are we, in your opinion, and based on things you saw, is our time travel program? How advanced is it?
Well, they can do it, okay? It's not that effective, such as I would probably say a recent offer I got to come back to a project because the entire team had passed away during one of the missions, and it has the mortality rate, it's not that great. So
something happened during the
something happened, and these are people I'd known for 20 years or more.
You seem a little emotional.
Well,
about this.
they were very close friends of mine in the projects. I haven't not talked to them in forever. But when I was notified of this position, first thing I asked was, well, how is Commander so-and-so? How is this person? How is that person? And they said, well, there was an incident.
Oh, geez.
And then I knew, and they just said, that's why we want you. And so just like an astronaut that goes up to space to risk his life or to the moon.
And they go there knowing
they go there knowing
back.
that, you might have just a 70% chance of survival. There is these numbers and ratios that scientists come up with. So it's not worth me right now getting involved with these projects anymore because it's too dangerous because of everything I'm trying to get out to the world. But at the same time, it's good to know that they're still working on these projects to help, figure out the physics behind them and the science. And a lot of these projects, have mission-oriented goals for time travel. One of the missions I had been on as a young sergeant was to go through these types of portals and time travel devices to just collect certain amount of rocks and dirt and flora
from the past
and fauna.
And the future, I guess.
Right. And I don't know where exactly I was on the planet or even if I was on this planet. And we would only be gone, it was always a specific 15 minutes in and out. But as we get back, we'd be gone 3 or 4 hours in real time at this time.
In real time, but when you came back, how much time had gone by?
3 or 4 hours. So I was only gone 15 minutes.
Okay.
And then everyone gets pulled out.
That's not too long. It's not like you came back and 40 years had gone by.
No,
right?
correct. But I know space travel, this is where it gets into the big time thing. The further, you go away from the Earth, that you're losing time because time here is speeding up as you're not.
Correct.
Yeah.
Emery, these missions are not very long, 10 to 15 minutes at a burst. What are they doing with these missions? What happens?
Well, like I said, each mission is different. One of the few missions I was on was to go there and collect some plant life and some rocks and some soil material.
To get in, to get out.
And to get in and get out. One of the cool things that had happened on one of the missions is they had this giant leaf, almost 3 feet in diameter, kind of like a vine leaf, and it was bulletproof. This
Bulletproof?
Leaf, bulletproof. The actual leaf.
That's strong.
It wasn't thick at all, but it was that strong. And a lot of these reverse technologies now you see here today come from these amazing excursions into time and through these portals. And one of the latest things that has just been published in the last 2 weeks was they took a plant and they removed all of its inner contents and just left the cellulose material of that plant clear as a bell. And they were able to inject into this plant, into the veins, liquid, and it's the same type of vessels, the way it's laid out, as we have in our own body.
Remarkable. Have you traveled in time, backward in time, and forward in time?
I don't know if I was traveling backward or forward because I was never around people or any types of, anything that I could tell that it was Earth.
It's not like you could look at a calendar that said 1804 or
It wasn't like
that.
I was, what's his name on Back to the Future where, he could, type something
Michael J.
in.
Fox.
Yeah, you can't, it's not like that at all. It's a great concept, but we haven't perfected it that they want to go back at this specific time. I think they're experimenting that they know people are losing time, and because they can take some sort of electronics with them now, which they weren't able to do in the past, and see that, hey, we've only been gone 15 minutes, but we get back and it's been 4 hours. What is that about? I don't know the physics behind that to explain it.
Did anything ever go wrong with you when you were doing this?
Not me personally, but there was one person in our team for some reason did not come back through the time continuum device. And I don't know what happened to them. This happens sometimes. There's a fine line when you're walking in through these devices within 4 to 6 feet, and if you go off of that line, you're gone. So you have to, there's a lot of protocols involving, getting through one of these devices.
When you arrive at a destiny in time, do you go through a portal? Is that what it looks like?
Yeah, it's kind of like a veil, and it's not like you see in these movies where there's this giant Stargate with all these flashing lights. It really is a clear, blurry veil, just a veil like a curtain in front of you. And I can see right through it and see you. Like if the veil was in front of me, I could still see you, but it's a blur. It's like a blurry, kind of like a plexiglass you're looking through. And as soon as you walk through it, you're not there anymore. You're at your destination.
Poof, you're gone. So how do you come back?
Yeah, well, you just turn around, and at that spot is the special spot to get back, whether it be at a site somewhere.
Okay.
Usually a lot of these things are already like of earthly origin, meaning like a Stonehenge type formation. The mechanical ones look like they're metal. They look like a picture frame, actually.
What if you get lost and you can't find that spot?
Well, that's why these missions are limited to about 15 minutes, and they only go to certain areas. So you really can't, run too far in 15 minutes.
No, you can't.
And you might be in a desert, you might be in a tropical zone, you might be in an Arctic zone. It just depends on what the mission is. And all the missions I've been on, they've already had people go on these. So we had videos and pictures, and we knew what type of flora and fauna we were looking at and what to collect as far as crystals and rocks and things like this.
Who's behind these programs, these time travel programs?
There's 300 major corporations that run this planet, and these corporations, a very small handful of them, are involved with the highest tech stuff that's out there. So I believe that it's them that have conquered this type of stuff. They've also conquered, reverse engineering a lot of the extraterrestrial craft, creating interdimensional craft that can go interdimensionally, which also is a time travel type of thing.
Are they still doing this? And if they are, how advanced are they now?
Well, as of 6 months ago, when I was offered this position, they're still doing it. So we know it's still a hot item. They're still trying to work out the quirks of it. That's the problem, because if you don't know the physics behind this, you could, cause a lot of damage, and you can also bring back things that are not, safe.
Aren't you concerned for yourself, Emery? I mean, you're talking about things that are supposed to be covert, I would assume, that are supposed to be secret, and you're risking a lot coming forward talking about this. Do you look over your shoulder? Sometimes?
I'm always on high alert, of course. The attacks have slowed down significantly ever since I stopped teaching about the zero-point energy devices and stopped, really talking and inventing new cellular devices that help you heal. Since I've already have patents and all these things behind me, and it's kind of a general public about my free energy lab I used to run. Also, the devices that I have invented there have been turned over to other corporations that I have given them, and I'm still helping them develop it and perfect it. It is a very scary thing. It was. I mean, the reason the head-on collision happened to me was because I was transporting a zero-point energy device after it was validated. So I think, that being said, and coming forward in November with a lot of this information, I think it was the protection of the general public and people knowing, hey, now if they kill me, I'm gonna look like a martyr. It's gonna be horrible. Everyone's definitely gonna know now. And recently we're gathering up about a few hundred documents that have been left over from my house being raided that we're gonna show to the
It's what they did to Tesla when he died too. Same thing.
But I'm doing it ahead of time, hopefully.
Emery, tell me specifically about this accident. What actually happened?
Well, for many months in California, I was working at an undisclosed location facility that was helping me validate a system. We were able to validate the system properly. So right after that, after an agreement was made for an exchange of other technologies for them to validate the system, I put it in the back of the Range Rover and headed down the mountain, I'll say.
Aha.
And someone came out from around the corner.
Intentionally?
Intentionally with a long, we had a lot of time to think about what was going to happen, but there's a canyon wall on the right with just 3 feet.
Oh, geez.
And this person was not going to get back in his lane. So I just had a second to turn, and it was a very vicious head-on collision of over 55 miles an hour.
Oh, you're lucky you're still here, my gosh.
Yeah, my hand went through the side window, and we had a concussion, lots of lacerations. Of course, with any type of head-on collision, you're pretty sore for quite a while. So I was out of work for about 3 weeks and really couldn't do much. The thing was, the device was spared, thank goodness, and was immediately transported to a safe place by another investor and security team that was helping me out at that time. And now it's in a very safe place and safe hands.
Okay.
And the information with that, it's a very fantastic thing, because they're going to come out next year, hopefully maybe March, April, and show the public, my device and what we have done with this to help the world in a safe and effective way. Because I'm not out there teaching anyone how to do this, and like the Bedini brothers were, and that's why they, got taken out. And these are 2 other scientists that were, trying to help get these energy devices out. But, I was visited a very long time ago by the suits, and they said, "We know what you're doing. We don't care. Don't sell it. Don't teach people how to do it, and don't hook it up to the grid.
And you'll be okay.
And you'll be fine." So I
do any one of those 3 and look out.
I've never done that, so I've been very adamant.
What other countries are involved in time travel? It can't be just us.
The only ones I can verify is Germany, China, United States of America, and a couple of facilities in Australia are trying to duplicate that I know of, first and second-hand information. There might be others, maybe Brazil, maybe England, but I'm not aware of it.
I've always wondered if there are time travelers roaming around this planet right now from the future. What do you think?
It's a possibility. It's possible. Anything is possible when it comes to time travel. It's just, finding out, through these time travelers and people, because I know there's a lot of stories out there, a lot of things going on, and we don't have agents that go out through these things and, like Terminator, and go back and kill so-and-so's son, so there's, not this president born. It just doesn't work that way. If something like that were to happen, it would be on another timeline.
But don't they go back, Emery, and try to manipulate time? So how do we know that events that are happening right now, the president's meeting with North Korea and things like that, how do we know that they weren't manipulated by some kind of time event?
Right. One of the opinions out there, and one of the, hypothetical hypothesis is that you would not know, because, like I was telling you earlier, if someone were to go change something, it would not even be in your memory. And that's why I think this may, this is just my, educated guess, that this is probably happening and we wouldn't even know. That because of the field of energy that we're all connected to, if something were to, change in time, that you would already be programmed to believe that never happened, or that when something changes, and not everyone gets the change, is what I'm getting at. So people are starting to remember, people are starting to be elevated in their own force field to realize, wait a second, I'm figuring this out, because they're having this residual memory attached, to the endless field.
What would the motivation be, Emery, of manipulating the timeline? Why would they want to change things like that?
The megalomaniacs that kind of run this planet have all the money in the world. They have everything they could ever want. And I think it is some sort of disease they have.
A game?
That they're addicted to, like, the secret control factor. Not only controlling the mass population, but secretly controlling certain aspects of what can happen and, or what could happen if, they change something. So it's a control factor, I believe, that they may have, that they're get high off this type of thing, you know, releasing their own excitement of adrenaline and dopamine in their brain when they accomplish, you know, secret control over an individual or over a greater population, which includes, you know, death as well.
It's a power play, isn't it?
Yes.
The deep state, we hear so much about the deep state. Were you involved with them?
No.
You were not?
No.
I'm trying to find an Emery Smith that may be involved in covert things, but that's not you.
Well, of course I was involved with a lot of covert things, but I don't use the pop culture term deep state when I was, you know, an active duty member and also a contract member of, you know, corporations. I was never doing anything, you know, that was negative, you know,
Right.
of anything like that. So the deep state, I kind of stay away from that kind of term because, you know, for many of my colleagues and military veteran people who have been on lots of secret missions and things like this, we don't think of it, you know, that way, you know, and agents and spies and things like this. You know, we have a job and we're supposed to do it. And, you know, most of the time you don't know really why you're doing it. And that's, you know, one of the reasons, you know, I kind of got away from all that because it's kind of upsetting if you knew you were part of something that maybe was negative towards
absolutely.
a person.
Especially when you're a good person.
Or yeah, to the person or to the planet. And, but to my knowledge, I'm not aware of any of that, you know, in my career.
Do you remember the original movie, The Time Machine, where the professor invented a time device and he sat in it? In this particular case, the apparatus to create time travel creates these portals, but you don't physically need to take a device with you, do you?
Well, no, because the device is already there. And I'm glad you brought this up.
And it stays there, right?
Right, it stays there in the field, in that its own field. And one of the first times we got one of these over unity 0-point energy devices going in the lab, this sphere formed about 10 or 15 feet around the device. And myself and the scientists were in this sphere. And I just remember looking through this liquid sphere as we're inside a hollow sphere, but it's like a liquid,
bubble?
like a bubble. And we could see different times of the planet. I mean, we saw like dinosaurs. We saw beings.
Wow.
We saw beings and things through this like a window. Wherever you would look, you could see this, and it was so captivating. It was only for like a brief 15 seconds, but it was like, wow, we just opened some sort of time rift or something, and we're actually viewing the planet right now as it was, you know, millions and millions and millions of years ago.
What a sight. What a sight. With time travel, is there that possibility that, because I think of it also as teleportation, do they send you to another planet? And if they do, what if you appear without a breathing device or something? What happens to you?
That's a great question. And what they do is they send drones through these thousands of times before they send a human being through. And some of these are programmed life forms. Some of these are mechanical drones with cameras on them. And they go through these and they come back. And we have actual recordings of everything. Also, it's like sending a satellite or, you know, sending the probe to Mars to analyze the atmosphere and all these things. And you're right, you know, you got to be careful where you're going to be going into. And it has to do also with the ley lines of the planet and how the stars are aligned at that time for these portals to actually operate correctly, and also to make it safe for, you know, these people to go through.
How fascinating. It really is. Are you familiar with Jason Rice?
No.
I interviewed him on Beyond Belief, and he will be appearing on future episodes of Cosmic Disclosure. Gaia had cameras rolling when he underwent hypnosis and a polygraph test. Really remarkable stuff.
Amazing. I can't wait to hear.
Emery, thanks. I really appreciate you being on Cosmic Disclosure.
George, thanks for having me again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for watching.
Coming this season on Cosmic Disclosure, where people share their clandestine involvement with government agencies, the military, and secret space programs.
I know the satellites that can project something right here with a shadow and reflect light, and you will, honest to God, think that's real.
There's a UFO and it's not even there.
Exactly.
Have you ever killed an extraterrestrial being?
Yes.
They were turning the human into some sort of interdimensional communications device.
They are very interested in some of our DNA.